What if I told you that one court ruling could define the future of reproductive rights in America? Today, we're diving into one of the most emotionally charged and polarizing issues in U.S. politics: abortion rights. Specifically, the future of Roe v. Wade, the landmark Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion nationwide, and how state-level restrictions are challenging it, especially in the upcoming U.S. presidential election. Let's start by understanding Roe v. Wade. In 1973, the Supreme Court ruled that a woman's right to choose to have an abortion was protected by the Constitution, specifically under the right to privacy. For decades, this decision has been at the center of fierce debates, with both pro-choice and pro-life movements fighting for their vision of what reproductive rights should look like. But today, the legal foundation of Roe v. Wade is facing unprecedented challenges. Let's start with Donald Trump. During his presidency, Trump appointed 3 Supreme Court justices: Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, creating a conservative majority on the court. Trump has been clear about his opposition to Roe v. Wade, expressing a desire for states to have the power to regulate abortion on their own terms. This shift from a federal right to a state-controlled issue could drastically change the landscape of abortion access in America. Trump's conservative appointees may eventually decide whether to overturn or severely limit Roe v. Wade. If that happens, abortion rights would no longer be protected at the national level, meaning each state could set its own rules. Some states have already passed trigger laws that would automatically ban or heavily restrict abortion if Roe is overturned. So, Trump's vision? It's about pushing the decision-making power on abortion back to the states. A system where some states could maintain access to abortion, while others could enforce severe restrictions or outright bans. Now, let's turn to Kamala Harris. Harris is firmly pro-choice, and she supports codifying Roe v. Wade into federal law, ensuring that the right to an abortion is protected nationwide, regardless of what happens with the Supreme Court. Her stance is that abortion is a fundamental right, and removing it would disproportionately harm low-income women and women of color who may not have the resources to travel to states where abortion remains legal. Harris has called out state-level restrictions as a direct attack on women's reproductive rights. In her view, recent laws in states like Texas and Alabama, which heavily restrict abortion access, are unconstitutional. Harris advocates for the federal government to step in and protect access to abortion, even if Roe v. Wade were overturned. But here's the question: how do we get here? State-level restrictions on abortion have been increasing for years. Some states require waiting periods, mandatory counseling, or even force providers to give medically inaccurate information to patients. And in some cases, like Texas's Senate Bill 8, laws ban abortions as early as 6 weeks, before many women even know they're pregnant. So, we have 2 very different approaches. Trump's vision, which could lead to a patchwork of laws where each state decides on abortion rights, and Harris's vision, which aims to protect access at the national level through federal law. The big question is, what happens if Roe v. Wade is overturned? If that occurs, it wouldn't automatically ban abortion across the country. Instead, it would hand the power back to the states where laws could vary wildly. In some states, abortion would remain legal and accessible, while others might outlaw it completely, creating an environment where access to reproductive health care depends on where you live. But at the heart of this debate is a deeper question. What should the role of government be in deciding personal health care choices? For those who support Trump's position, it's about returning power to the states and allowing local governments to reflect the will of their citizens. For Harris's supporters, it's about protecting individual rights and ensuring equal access to health care across the nation. So, as the U.S. presidential election approaches, the future of abortion rights and Roe v. Wade is one of the most critical issues on the table. Will Trump's conservative Supreme Court reshape reproductive rights in America, or will Harris push to safeguard abortion rights at the federal level? Thanks for watching Mind Circuit. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What do you think the future of Roe v. Wade should be? Should abortion rights be left to the states, or should they be federally protected? Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.